It's time to get lost in the Midcard. This Bleav in Pro Wrestling property is brought to you by Bet Online, the continued #1 source for all your sports betting needs. Join now and receive your 100% welcome bonus on your first deposit when you use our promo code Bleav. Now, here are Jeremy Bennett and Matt Black on the Bleav Podcast Network.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the podcast where I ask you the question, what do you want to talk about? It's Lost in the Midcard here. Thank you for joining. What does everybody want to talk about? MK saying that right there in the chat there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us live. We are starting off early, but even though we're starting off early, we're starting off a little late. I had a little technical difficulty. But thanks to Rick Uccino for getting back to me right away last minute before we got things started because I was having trouble getting into the stream thing. So thankfully that is good. And we are live here. Night after WrestleMania, the biggest Raw of the year, supposedly. Some years recently have been not a great Raw after WrestleMania. We'll see. This is going to be the first one under Triple H. Obviously, a lot of scrutiny with what happened last night, especially night 2 of WrestleMania. A lot of scrutiny of Triple H and the main event of night 2. We're going to get into all of that. No Matt this week. He is on a little bit of a hiatus. So just me here this evening. We are going to get you set up for all the way to the Raw after WrestleMania. Hopefully it's a big one. Hopefully we get some big debuts. Hopefully it's a major show like normal. You know, it's going to be, again, it's going to be interesting to see. A lot of the wrestling world was pissed off at the fact that Cody did not win the title. I am one of those included. I thought this was a perfect time to finish the story. Obviously, they're thinking of a different way to finish the story, but WrestleMania was supposed to be the way to finish the story. A lot of people are mad. I understand. They're understandably mad. I mean, this is WrestleMania. This is the Sunday. This is WrestleMania Sunday. This is where you're supposed to finish those big stories. Obviously, this story didn't even really get started until the Royal Rumble when Cody won, but at the same time, that's when the stories for WrestleMania began and end. I honestly think they really desperately wanted Roman Reigns to get 1,000 days as champion, which is, I Bleav, less than 45 days away, I would say. So that, they got to get their merchandise, maybe do a documentary, some kind of bullshit like that. Again, a lot of people think it's pretty meaningless to have a 1,000-day reign. I think it is a big milestone because in the modern era, nobody's really ever touched it. I mean, CM Punk wasn't even that. I mean, CM Punk is one of the longest reigning champions in the modern era. He's not even half of what Roman has hit. So thank you guys for joining the chat here. Let's get into some of these chats here. MK, any guesses for who the mystery partner is for Cody? I would assume that there must be a. I guess I haven't seen that yet. I've been working all day, and I got this all set up this afternoon early, so I haven't really been keeping up with Raw news yet. Obviously, sometime during this broadcast, Sean Ross Sapp will probably present us with the rundown or what's going to be expected for the Raw after Mania tonight. I go to Raw. Let's see. Let's go to Raw here. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything for Raw, so I will have to see what happens there. Steven Chambers, Cody will win Money in the Bank. That is obviously a way for Cody to finish the story. My my thoughts were there were a few people like who's going to beat Roman, who's going to knock off the the longest reigning champion of the modern era. Obviously, Cody at SummerSlam is kind of an idea. Triple H said it in the press conference yesterday. The story has not been finished, so there's a lot yet to go into that. Obviously, we'll probably get some answers tonight. I'm not sure, but Cody winning Money in the Bank's possibility. I figured at this point, Sami Zayn would be a good person to win Money in the Bank. So we'll have to see there. Buddy Anthony here. I hate WWE. A lot of people with that sentiment because Cody did not come out on top. A lot of it was a shitty weekend for fan favorites to not come out on top. A couple of those happened in Ring of Honor as well, which we'll get to a little later. MK, I'm more mad at the crappy finish. Rinse and repeat with Roman Reigns. Exactly. It's the same stuff. It's Reigns could not beat a guy on his own. And it's really getting tired, especially now when this happens at WrestleMania and we're expecting Cody Rhodes to win and you do the same old shit. And MK also has a good point. They wanted the merger. They wanted Roman to be the face of the company, the champion at the time of the merger, which that is breaking news that we're going to get into here. First off, before we get into this weekend's major events, once again, thank you for joining me here on the Raw After Mania. We will get you set up. We will go up till or close to Monday Night Raw, and get you set up there for what's going to hopefully be a big 3 hours. WrestleMania, I think night one was tremendous. Night two had a lot of great stuff, but just overall was not as good as night one. We'll get into all that a little bit as well. And of course, talk about the merger here as well. Let's keep going into some of these chats. Cody momentum will go down a little bit. Only way for Cody to get momentum back is winning Money in the Bank. Very possible. Triple H has a major announcement. Triple H, I Bleav, is leading off Monday Night Raw. So obviously ahead of the merger and all that, it'll be interesting to see. It was known, this was tweeted from Fightful, just about a half an hour ago, or actually a little about an hour ago. During today's WWE employee meeting, it was claimed that Endeavor isn't going to be involved in the creative production of the show. This meeting was head up by Triple H, Nick Khan, and Frank Reddick. There were a few details as to how other areas could or would be affected. They'll have more after tonight's talent meeting on FightfulSelect.com. Another interesting thing is the fact that UFC under Endeavor allows third-party income, like OnlyFans and things like that. So now is that all of a sudden going to be back on the table for WWE? And then is that all of a sudden going to be a way to get Mandy Rose back into the company? That's kind of interesting to see. Will that carry over to WWE or not? Steven Chambers in the chat guessing triple threat Roman, Seth, and Cody at SummerSlam. Obviously, Rollins is a key component in a guy that could end Roman Reigns' streak. Jey Uso was the guy that started the story. Would they have Jey Uso break the streak and put the world title on him? Unlikely, but that's how that story started. So that's another interesting piece of the puzzle to see. Would Jey come into that? I don't know. That's interesting. Gunther's another one too. He retained his Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Does Gunther become I would Bleav, the first ever dual champion? Because if I remember, well, I guess Ultimate Warrior was dual champion, but the first champion since Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6, which was 33 years ago. Would he be the first one to do it? That's another guy that you keep an eye out as well. Also, yes, Steven in the chat. Rest in peace, Bushwhacker Butch. Yes, unfortunate news breaking today that Bushwhacker Butch passed away at the age of 78. So that's some unfortunate news to start, which is basically a new calendar year for pro wrestling with WrestleMania ending last night. Bell in the chat, can we salute Finn Balor for finishing the match after what happened? Because, that was, I think that match was cut short. I don't know if Finn was supposed to win that match. I had predicted Finn to win that match, but I do know that was cut short. So it was unfortunate. If you've seen Finn's Twitter account, you'll see the gruesome gash that was on his head from the ladder being yeeted at Edge. That was not pretty at all. MK in the chat, here's a question that I don't want answered, but it's coming. When do the layoffs happen? Talent and production. That's definitely way up in the air, especially when you have a merger. You're merging two companies, but they were separate entities. They look like they will be continued to be separate entities, but if you're merging them into one company for stock purposes, you got to think good chance layoffs are going to happen again. Maybe that's the reason why all these layoffs happened, though, early on, was to set up the fact that there was the sale coming. Maybe Nick Khan got ahead of that to where now there may not be a lot of layoffs or anything going on. I don't know, but let's get into that top story, though. It was reported. It was reported on Sunday and made official this morning. Vince McMahon agrees to sell WWE to Endeavor to form a $21 billion live sports brand with the UFC. After nearly 70 years of control, the McMahons are no longer in control of WWE. It is a truly weird day. So now WWE and UFC are both owned by Endeavor. They're going to be forming a, quote, global live sports and entertainment company. UFC was valued at $12.1 billion. WWE had a valuation of $9.3 billion. Endeavor says, quote, together, or actually Vince McMahon, I think, said this, quote, together we will be a 21 billion plus billion live sports and entertainment powerhouse with a collective fan base of more than 1 billion people. An exciting growth opportunity. Vince continued in the interview with CNBC earlier today. The new company will be well positioned to maximize the value of our combined media rights, enhance sponsorship monetization, develop new forms of content, and pursue other strategic mergers and acquisitions to further bolster our strong table of brands. Endeavor is going to have 51% of controlling interest. The other 49% is spread across WWE's shareholders. So this comes, of course, after a very tumultuous time for Vince McMahon. Vince is going to, the head of Endeavor said Vince is a part of the company. There was also a question of, is Vince part of creative? And that was answered. Vince is going to be part of creative on a high level, but not get into, quote, the weeds, so to speak. So, when it comes to in a night two of WrestleMania, probably kind of showed you that. Omos and Brock Lesnar just came out of nowhere. And, Matt said it on this show before, that definitely felt like a Vince McMahon deal, Same with Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt out of nowhere, which, very unfortunate for Lashley, not even to have a WrestleMania match because of Bray Wyatt's supposed illness. And then all he gets is to come out to the live crowd with his Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. At least you got to have a moment and come out in front of that live crowd of 80,000, but still kind of sucks that he did not get a match. We'll get to some further information from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, but first let's go to the chat. MK, Don Callis, and Finn Balor. Yes, busted open the hard way this week. Both guys. I did not see Don's injury, but he apparently was busted open the hard way too on that Blackpool Combat Club attack. Stephen Chambers in the chat. What does the future hold for Peacock? Fox and Universal contract expires in 2024. I do believe the Peacock, I think, is contracted for another 3 years. A WWE on Peacock. So there is still quite a bit of time before the Peacock deal ends. Obviously, under Endeavor, the UFC pay-per-views skyrocketed in price. But maybe do we get a best of both worlds? And you could answer this in the chat if you'd like. Would you pay $25 a month to get UFC and WWE combined? Or what is your price point to get UFC and WWE combined? I really hope they don't go back to the pay-per-view model, because I honestly don't know how many people would pay $55, $60 or more for a WWE pay-per-view, especially after being turned off last night by Cody Rhodes getting beat when he should have won that match. It's interesting to see, but at the same time, the Peacock thing, I think, is still around for at least 3 more years. Bella in chat, also back to Mania. I would like to applaud the strength of Bianca's dancer after losing her mom that morning. Yes, that was very unfortunate. It was the littlest girl, I believe, was the one who had lost her mother that same day, and then performed for Bianca. That was one of the coolest entrances in recent memory for WWE, that with Bianca Belair and those girls at Compton. That was truly a sweet entrance there. MK in the chat, Ultimate Sports Entertainment. VKM is going to do the big angles while Triple H handles the weekly television. And I would go as far as to say Vince is probably only going to get involved in Rumble winner, maybe SummerSlam, WrestleMania, maybe Money in the Bank. I don't know. And I don't even know if he's going to have that much of an influence or actually a call on those things. That's going to remain to be seen. But it does seem, he says high level, so I don't know exactly what high level does. Steven Chambers in the chat, absolutely right. I've been asking this forever. They should have done a fight pit with Brock and Lashley. I mean, I bet we were asking for that ever since the last match they had. Also, Steven in the chat, wouldn't mind bringing back WWE pay-per-views in bars and restaurants like Buffalo Wild Wings and Hooters. Yeah, I watched The Undertaker return at Judgment Day in 2000 at a Hooters here in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was pretty cool to watch those things with a big crowd like that. Especially something like that moment where, you see The Undertaker like you've never seen him before. And this is the 2000s, so we're still kind of in the Attitude Era. I guess the Attitude Era never really officially stopped until around 2001, 2002, maybe. Frantic World, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us. MK, does ESPN get the WWE pay-per-views eventually? Oh, that's a good part. That's a good question, because obviously ESPN Plus has has the UFC. They air live pay-per-views there too. Would can they move all the library to ESPN Plus? I don't know. I wish, honestly, I wish that these bigger company or these third party or these media companies or media channels, I wish they would step away from that and we just go back to the old WWE Network model. That app was great. You could search for matches. You could skip from match to match from pay-per-views. A lot of stuff that Peacock promised, but they never delivered on. I wish you could go back to that base with the WWE Network and then integrate UFC from there. To me, that'd be the ultimate win-win. Instead of having to work with ESPN or Peacock or Universal, things like that. It's I don't know. There's just a lot of broken promises with Peacock, which is annoying, that you still cannot skip match to match or even rewind a live pay-per-view or anything like that. MK in the chat, people are getting used to pay-per-views for $5 or $10 a month. There's no way they'll pay $50 a pop for Backlash. No, not at all. And again, like I said, after the results of last night, I think a lot less people are going to want to do that as well. They can Fightful Select posted an article just a couple of hours ago here in regards to that sale. There was a company-wide meeting at 3 p.m. Eastern per Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, who was one of the main guys that was breaking the story yesterday on Twitter. An email that was distributed internally stating that Triple H will remain as chief content executive to those that they spoke with in WWE. They were adamant that even if Vince McMahon is involved in the top levels of creative, Triple H will be the person in Gorilla leading the charge. So, the high levels, maybe like I said, maybe it's what matches you have at WrestleMania, maybe even a who wins. I don't know. But Triple H is making the call still in Gorilla. They specifically asked about Vince McMahon saying he, quote, wouldn't be in the weeds anymore with creative, since he said the same thing 4 years ago when Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman were put in creative roles for Raw and SmackDown. There's a talent meeting expected to be soon, and of course, Triple H is rumored to kick off Raw. WWE Creative has been adamant that they have not interacted directly with Vince McMahon creatively, and higher up says he likes the process of how things are now. Though the exact level of his involvement was not revealed to Fightful, they did say that Triple H is overseeing creative, and Vince is around as a resource if needed. They asked if the looming deal had anything to do with Roman Reigns retaining the championship over Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and they were told absolutely not, which is interesting. I don't know. Again, I don't know why you don't have Cody break the streak there. And obviously you put 2 and 2 together with this news breaking the same day that match happened, but I don't know. It's interesting, and maybe in time we'll find out why they didn't do this at WrestleMania. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some answers tonight. It's up in the air. That's for damn sure. WWE sources indicated to Fightful that a big part of the deal was the company's desire to expand internationally, especially as it pertains to international television rights, fees, and things like that they were looking to increase. There are right fees and negotiations in the UK that WWE is seeking to make more money off of and increase visibility. They're also looking to increase their rate cards domestically as they feel they should be earning more on their television deals. WWE sources were also adamant that they're not planning on expanding PLE shows on an a la carte pay-per-view situation. Again, for the time being, as I mentioned, that's partly because I think they still have 3 years left on their deal with Peacock. So obviously they can't charge $60 for a pay-per-view when you can get it on Peacock for $10. So, it's pretty obvious there. But they noted anything is possible. But it'd have to be a deal so huge they couldn't turn it down. And they are cognizant of being short-sighted as it relates to the futures of PLEs and pay-per-views and where it's going. So that's the story in regards to the sale. Let us know in the chat what you think about this deal merging with Endeavor. Is it ultimately good for the company now that a McMahon is not owning WWE? Is it bad? UFC fans can speak out as well. What did you think about the product since Endeavors took over? Let us know in the chat there. MK in the chat. Vince's statement was piss poor. I've yet to see the CNBC interview. I'm going to check that out later on today. Hopefully, we'll see how I feel after Raw. If not, I'll probably check it out tomorrow. Steven Chambers in the chat. Really cool. Cody giving his belt to -1. Yes, that was a very, very cool moment before the show. That Brody Jr. got Cody's weight belt. Brandy, of course, you got to see Brandy and Liberty there. I know Brody's mom Amanda was in the crowd for both nights at Mania as well. So that was a very touching moment. I loved it a lot. Donald, what's up, man? Have we talked about Senior McMahon's mustache yet? My God, is that combined with the Just for Men on top? I got no words, man. No words. I saw someone on Twitter compare it to a wax figure of Clark Gable. That's a very old reference, but if you Google it, it'll probably make sense to you. Steven Chambers in the chat. Vince with that mustache looks like Bison from Street Fighter. Oh, Raul Julia. So you could say he kind of looks like Gomez Adams too, maybe. Bell in the chat. Ariel Hawani shaking with fear now. Yeah, I guess Yeah, he might not be the biggest fan of that UFC, the Endeavor deal with that as well. Let's move on to what happened this weekend. We're going to kick things off with Friday night. Supercard of Honor was live on pay-per-view. I don't know why it was on Honor Club, because I'm just starting to wonder why. What is Honor Club really worth $10 a month for just a live TV show and their library? I think you gotta put the pay-per-views on here too live. I just gotta think you do that, but that's just me questioning it, especially after some of the choices they decided on Supercard of Honor. I mean, there's some very questionable choices. Maybe those things play out once we get there. I don't know, but if you did watch Supercard of Honor, let us know in the chat what your thoughts were of it on Friday. I did not watch it live. I was away until later on in the evening, where I did catch GCW. I watched Joey Janela's Spring Break and Emo Fight, which I thought were both tremendous shows. I watched Effie's Gay Brunch on Saturday. I kind of simulcasted it with NXT, Stand and Deliver, which we'll get into as well. But kicking off, 0 Hour Jeff Cobb took on Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. Decent little match there. Willie Mack took on Konosuke Takeshita. Great match there. I thought that was really good. Willow Nightingale taking on Miranda Alizé. And then Slim J against Stu Grayson to close out 0 Hour. We kick off the main show with my God. If there was a guy that had a weekend this weekend, it had to be El Hijo de Vikingo. The dude wrestled like so much. Him and Speedball Bailey had so many matches this weekend. It was insane. And Vikingo's match with Commander to kick off Supercard of Honor's main card. Holy hell, that was just an insane display of athleticism. I still don't know how Vikingo does a 630 and lands on a table so close to the apron. He did that on Kenny Omega at Dynamite last week, and then he did it again to Commander at Supercard of Honor. The damn table didn't even break. It was insane. Two talented men. Commander, I discovered about a year ago through GCW, so it's good to see him getting his props, and of course Vikingo has been making his mark over the past year as well. And this was for the AAA Mega Championship, and it was just a chef's kiss to kick off Supercard of Honor, in my opinion, man. Let's go back to the chat here. MK in the chat. I think at this point, I hate to say it, but we need to let it play out with WWE. Also, if I'm AEW, it's business as usual. Yeah, I mean, again, the Bloodline story has been the greatest story told in probably 2 decades of professional wrestling, and we're reaching about 3 years of it now. Doing the same old shit, though, at the end of WrestleMania was not good. I put a bad taste in people's mouths. And really, you could still continue the story with Cody winning. It is baffling to me, but Keith in the chat, welcome to the show, Keith. WrestleMania nights 1 and 2, iconic from start to finish. We'll get to WrestleMania in a little bit here. AEW needs to continue to present itself as a pro wrestling company, while WWE is just a spectacle with a dash of good wrestling, says MK in the chat. Steven Chambers, ouch, Dante Martin broke his ankle. Yes, that was ugly. I saw the angle of him landing, but then at watching it live, you could see the foot was on backwards, and that's not good enough. Not good at all. We'll get to some of these other chats here in just a minute, but once again, Vikingo and Commander, man, what a great start. And it definitely put Commander on the map. Vikingo, I think, was already on the map a little bit. The 6-man tag match, the Embassy taking on AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik. The only question is are they taking the titles off of the Embassy because Brian Cage is leaving? Well, that answer for now is no, because the Embassy won. It was a decent match, but it definitely was kind of a come down from the opener, which was just completely insane. but still a decent match there. And I guess for now, and I think Tony Khan said in the presser after Supercard of Honor that he hopes that Brian Cage is here for a long, long time. Maybe he already signed a deal. Hard to say, but the Embassy's still in control of the 6-man tag. The women up next, Athena and Yuka Sakazaki. Boy, they beat the crap out of each other. I love this match completely. Yuka Sakazaki was very game for this match with Athena. Absolutely enjoyed the brutality from those two women. Athena hitting that final, that finisher, just the way she did it from the ropes was beautiful. Athena continues to impress as a heel. I love it. That was a tremendous match. Samoa Joe, Mark Briscoe. Let's just put Bell in the chat here. Samoa Joe beating Mark Briscoe pissed me off the most this weekend. I agree. I think Cody pissed me off a little more because I have a feeling Mark losing here could be the start of something bigger. I hope. Much like Eddie losing to Claudio could be the start of something bigger. Where I wonder if Cody losing to Roman is the start of something bigger. Is it? I don't know. I feel like the 2 Ring of Honor losses that I agree were bad booking. They should not have lost those matches, but I think they may have been something bigger. I don't know. But when, man, you couldn't help but be teary-eyed when Mark goes to the corner looking for a tag to his brother. And you're just like, oh, that was so heart-wrenching. And then that kind of gave him strength to do an ultimate comeback on Joe. And you thought maybe Mark was going to win. But in the end, with referee stoppage, Joe choking out Mark Briscoe. And it was disappointing because you figured this was Mark's time, especially after losing his brother. I don't know where they're going with this. I wonder if it does lead to something bigger. Stay tuned for that, obviously. Go back to the chat here. MK in the chat. Eddie losing made me sad. Well, Mark losing I was okay with. Sucks for Dante Martin. That team is snakebit. Congrats to Lucha Bros. Yeah. Yeah, Top Flight is cursed. There is no ifs, ands, and buts about it. As soon as they get any sort of momentum that somebody gets hurt, usually it's been Darius, but this time it was Dante. Stephen in the chat, Vikingo and Commander, awesome. Yes, that was an MK saying Commander versus Sammy on Wednesday. Woohoo, man. Yeah, again, I think that's going to be just a stupendous match. That's going to be insane. With Sammy and Commander, they're both 2 talented gentlemen. I am very much looking forward to that happening here this Wednesday. Is Brian Cage staying? Says Stephen Chambers in the chat. I would say that 6-man tag win tells you that he is, because otherwise they probably would have taken the belts off. The only other thing is if maybe they kick him out of the Embassy and replace him with maybe a Jeff Cobb. I don't know. And they still remain 6-man tag champs. I don't know. But I think at this point, it's safe to say that he's staying. MK in the chat, Athena is on fire. That is definitely true. Steven saying, really thought Mark was going to beat Joe. Yeah, we all did. We all predicted it. Matt and I both predicted it on the show last week, and it was a complete bummer that it didn't happen. MK in the chat, TK usually gives his fans what they want, but he was like, not this time. You're right. It's going to play a bigger story for Mark and Eddie. Eddie, we'll talk about Eddie at the end of the show there once we get there. Bell in the chat, no with Cody. I'm letting it play out because his story in WWE never started, and there's a crowd of people in WWE fandom that doesn't know his story outside of WWE. Yeah, like I said, my gut feeling is he's going to have the title by SummerSlam. If it's Money in the Bank or somehow getting back into it, I don't know. I have a feeling that he's going to somehow get back into that title picture some way. After that deflating loss of Mark Briscoe to Samoa Joe, We had a grudge match between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Daniel Garcia. Absolutely in love. I loved this match. Garcia working on Tanahashi's knee all throughout the match, but the 46-year-old veteran coming out on top with the high fly flow. I thought this was a great match. I think I said it exactly on the show last week. Daniel Garcia is really coming into his own in terms of the character of Daniel Garcia, especially as a heel character. You know, the in-ring work was always there ever since he's been with the company, but the character work that Garcia has been putting in this past year has been tremendous, and the growth of that is shown. Next up was the absolutely fucking insane Reach for the Sky tag ladder match. So many high spots in this match. Insane. The competitors were Aussie Open, Top Flight Kingdom, LFI, and the Lucha Bros. And, of course, obviously, our thoughts go out to Dante Martin. Hopefully he can come back from this. He's young enough, and hopefully within some time that he can. But this was just insanity after insanity after insanity. And in the end, the Lucha Bros come out on top. A very touching moment afterwards. Mark Briscoe comes out to congratulate the new tag champs. Because obviously when Jay passed away, Mark and Jay were the ROH tag champs. And not only that, another nice surprise to welcome the new ROH tag champs was FTR, giving them respect too. Of course, FTR, very good friends with the Briscoes and had a tremendous feud with them, before the untimely passing of Jay. And Mark, and then you saw Mark hugging the Kingdom as well. Both Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, almost in tears after that match. And there was a great tribute, a Doomsday tribute that the Kingdom did. Basically a dive to the outside into a Doomsday device, which was one of many insane moves on that ladder match. And so it was pretty touching to see that going into it. Steven Chambers giving props to Tanahashi and Garcia in the chat here. MK, Cody winning at SummerSlam would be good, but not great. That moment definitely will have passed. Jose G, what's up, brother? My former partner on Top Story at Sportskeeda. We had a lot of fun times the couple years we got to do that. Thanks for joining the chat here tonight, Jose. Let me know what you thought of the weekend, Jose. Steven Chambers, Garcia, either a future ROH or AEW champion. I do not disagree. Also, Steven saying, awesome to see Mark and FTR after the match. Yes, that was very, very touching. MK, when Garcia decides he's a wrestler and not a sports entertainer, that pop will be huge. I say it happens sooner than later. Yeah, I think it would be cool. I almost think he fits in with the BCC, to be honest with you. And if you maybe somehow you could have the Jericho Appreciation Society. Easily, you could turn them babyface. Everybody on that team is likable and has been liked before. Between Jericho, Guevara, Daddy Magic, Cool Hand Angelo, Anna JAS, Ty Mello. All those people are likable and could easily be a babyface if you ever have a BCC feud with JAS, where Garcia actually has turned on the JAS. I think that would be kind of interesting. Bell in the chat, both ladder matches this week have had me panicking for people's careers. Dante Martin and then Tiffany Stratton. Yeah, Tiffany Stratton. Yikes. Needs to be a little instruction about catching people on risky falls. That's for damn sure. Next up was Wheeler Yuta versus Katsuyori Shibata for the Pure Championship. Oh, man, I loved this match. Very physical, as you could expect. Again, Wheeler Yuta doing a great job being the heel that he's turned into. He has really evolved into a great heel. He did some nefarious things, a little kick to the dick, spit in the face, but all in all, he could not overcome the legendary Shibata. And this also was like a false hope type of deal because it made you think, okay, Wheeler Yuta lost the Pure Championship. Claudio's going to lose the World Championship. You had that false hope because Shibata came out on top. But it's very cool to see Shibata as the Pure Champion, especially after everything he's gone through. And then, of course, the main event was Claudio Castagnoli against Eddie Kingston for the ROH World title. Tremendous match. The near falls, the Eddie just going nuts after kicking out at 1 at the end. The crowd just popping so loud for it. Then a reversal roll up and Claudio beat Eddie. Again, hopefully the part of a bigger story. But at the time, you can't help but think, what the hell, guys? You know, what the hell? But unfortunate, but at the same time, that main event was tremendous. I thought overall, Supercard of Honor was tremendous. The show ended with Yuta and Claudio kind of cornering Eddie, where Shibata came and made the save. Eddie getting on the mic, only had a minute, so he did a lot of cussing, but told us he ain't going anywhere. So that's good to hear from Eddie Kingston. And that story, I don't even think the story with Cesaro's done. I mean, this thing has started way back in Chikara, I think roughly 15 years ago. So I don't think that story's done. But let us know in the chat what you thought overall for Supercard of Honor. Steven says Shibata Yuta, great match. Wouldn't mind seeing Claudio and Eddie rematch, which I think is going to happen. Don in the chat, once his visa clears up, will we see Pac in Ring of Honor? I would assume so. I would assume maybe a Death Triangle down there for a time being, or maybe that's why the Lucha Bros are down there, is until Pac can get back to the U.S., they're going to be in Ring of Honor. It's kind of interesting to see how all that plays out with the roster. We go from Supercard of Honor to Saturday afternoon with NXT Stand and Deliver. Started at 1 Eastern, noon Central Time. Pretty early little show for NXT. Of course, with 2 nights of WrestleMania now, you got to. That's about the only slot that you could really put this show into. And Stand and Deliver, I thought was pretty good. The show started off with the ladder match with Roxanne Perez, Gigi Dolan, Zoe Stark, Indy Hartwell, Lyra Valkyria, and Tiffany Stratton. I thought it was a well done ladder match. I absolutely loved the surprise of Dexter Lumis coming out to help his wife, kayfabe wife, Indy Hartwell, get the win. It was a big pop for Dexter when he came out. And then you see Candice LeRae, Johnny Gargano later on, kind of reforming the way, so to speak, later on after Johnny's match. And it was a great moment. I thought it was cool for Indy Hartwell working her ass off in NXT. And finally, it's paid off. And so it's good to see her champ. As Steven said in the chat, didn't expect her to win the title. I didn't either. I mean, I thought Tiffany Stratton or Roxanne Perez were kind of the big ones, but and then so of course the big news, some more big news from today, that grizzled young veterans are asking for their release, and they were Dave Meltzer reported a couple hours after that they were granted their release. So again, that's a team that was underutilized. They were runners up with the Dusty Cup twice. I think they should have, as the grizzled young veterans, had more, especially should have been tag team champions. I'm not sure why that never did happen. As a part of Schism, they obviously lost their identities there. But I think they'll do well in the indies. I think they're going to be perfectly fine. Belle in the chat, I didn't think Indy would win. Nevertheless, good for her. I've always liked Indy. The Dexter surprise had me in hysterics, though. Yes, Dexter. that was pretty good. I like that. Next up was the NXT Tag Team Championships, a triple threat. with Gallus, the Creeds, and D'Angelo and Stax. I thought this was a decent match. It wasn't horrible by any means. It was pretty short at only about 8 minutes. But also no surprise, Gallus getting the win there. Of course, the big story there, Joe Coffey making his return to help Gallus get the W. Then came the fatal 5-way for the North American Championship. Wesley, JD McDonough, Ilya Dragunov, Dragon Lee, and Axiom. Absolutely match of the night. Completely loved this. Everything about it. I thought all 5 guys looked tremendous in this match. And with Wesley picking up the pin, kind of solidifies his North American title run. He's the one that called out to have a bunch of challengers, called his shot, and came through with it. And so props to Wesley there. And if you watch the show live, I mean, the crowd there live, they love Wesley. Big pop for him. So it was good to see him get the win there. I would have been perfectly fine if they would have put it on Ilya or even Axiom, but I am not upset at all that they kept it on Wesley. Next up after that was the unsanctioned match between Johnny Gargano and Grayson Waller. Very close to being match of the night. I will still give it to the Fatal 5-way, but this was a terrific match. Obviously, Gargano, NXT, TakeOver, PLE, whatever the hell you want to call it now. Gargano is going to show up for these, and he did there too, and so did Grayson Waller. I don't think Grayson Waller gets enough credit for the work he's done as a tremendous heel, and then also his in-ring work. And I thought this was just a damn good match between these guys. And then we got the Way reunion with Indy and Dexter coming out. And I assume the way Candice reacted, it was the first time Candice saw Indy since the title win. They probably didn't cross paths because I know they had Candice out in the crowd to start. So maybe Candice wasn't backstage at all after Indy won the title. So you could just see her joy when she saw Indy on stage. So to see the Way minus Austin Theory, because he's a dick, to see the Way on the stage there was pretty cool. And I really hope that they have a way of bringing the Way to the main roster eventually. Or, I just really hope they would. Of course, obviously now that Indy's NXT champion, that's going to be way up in the air. The women's tag match, this is kind of more of an NXT Tuesday match than a TakeOver level match. It was okay, but not exactly overwhelmingly crazy. But Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, your new tag team champions. I Bleav the breakup of Fallon and Kiana James is very inevitable because apparently, of course, the secret that Kiana's keeping from Brooks. So we'll probably have that all play out on NXT this week. And then the main event, great introduction by Trick Williams for Carmelo Hayes. Braun Breaker coming out. Did not get the boos that I thought Braun Breaker would get, not because of Rick Steiner being a complete piece of shit, just that I know the NXT crowd has been getting tired of Braun Breaker. A lot of people getting tired of the title reign. I thought he would get more boos in a non-Orlando location than he did, but he got quite a few cheers. Obviously, I think the crowd was still more pro Mello, as they should be, because this guy's a talent. It was still the third best match of the night for me, with the 5-way getting the nod, and then followed by Grayson Waller and Gargano. And we finally crowned Carmelo Hayes NXT champion. We all knew it was going to come at some point, unless he would get called up, obviously. But it was a tremendous moment to see Carmelo raise the belt. Respect from Braun Breaker afterwards too. These guys never really had a hated feud, which was weird because normally Carmelo's the bad guy, Braun the good guy. And there was not really anything nefarious in the feud. And I think that's because I think they're going to try to push Carmelo Hayes as a babyface champion because the crowd loves him. So we'll see how that all plays out. Again, who might be the next challenger on NXT? Probably get some more answers for that on Tuesday. But overall, I thought Stand and Deliver was a decent show. There were definitely takeover worthy matches in there, and there were a couple that weren't quite. But let's go to the chat. Stephen Chambers, Joe Coffey returns. Yeah, definitely helped Gallus. Stephen Chambers also saying great match for the 5-way. Bell says Axiom was her MVP in that match. Axiom has done a tremendous job, not just in the ring, but in promos and everything. He's done a hell of a job, and I definitely think he will be a champion soon. He could still, I kind of wonder if maybe he tags with Nathan Frazier and they get the tag champs eventually, or he could be North American champ, one of the two. Yeah, Bell mentioning Candace hitting Waller with the kendo stick during the match. That was, yeah, he did have some nasty stuff going on his back there. Stephen Chambers assuming the way stays in NXT. Maybe because, I mean, Gargano has really, and Loomis have really kind of just treaded water. And I thought, I've said it on this show many times that I thought they were just treading water, waiting for Ciampa to come back and reform DIY. So it'll be interesting to say. Yeah, Waller's back to look like hamburger meat. It was brutal, and Mello is champion. Yeah, I thought overall NXT did put on a good show. It was very entertaining. I loved it. And then of course Saturday night, the best night, night 1 of WrestleMania. I don't even think it was even close between night 1 and night 2 of which one was better. Let me know in the chat what you think, but I don't think it was close between night 1 and night 2 of what was better between night 1 and night 2. Night 1 kicking things off with your host, The Miz, and apparently our impromptu host, Snoop Dogg, was apparently the unofficial host for WrestleMania. We'll get into more with Snoop Dogg later, but Snoop Dogg was definitely the MVP of WrestleMania. That he saved the show on night 2. We'll get into that later, but Miz and Snoop welcoming us to WrestleMania. John Cena making his entrance. Austin Theory came out first. John Cena making his entrance with about a dozen Make-A-Wish kids. So you got to figure John Cena ain't going to lose if his WrestleMania entrance is including Make-A-Wish kids, is he? Well, this was probably the most underwhelming match of the night, surprisingly. Only went 11 minutes. Cena didn't kick out of any. He took one A-Town down and didn't kick out. There was like no drama, no near falls. It was just bam. Cena loses to one A-Town down, and losing after that entrance with those Make-A-Wish kids. It's weird. But obviously Theory is a guy that they're pushing, and a big win over John Cena at WrestleMania. I mean, that's a major milestone for Austin Theory. But I was surprised. And I think I heard, I think it was from Sean Ross Sapp. He said that match went a lot shorter than it was allowed, where Rhea and Charlotte went longer than it was allowed, which they're probably okay with how good that match was. And plus the time was cut on the first match. But one match that completely surprised the hell out of me was the next match. The men's tag team showcase. Braun and Ricochet, the Viking Raiders, Alpha Academy, the Street Profits. You know, I was probably in the minority of saying, why is this happening? There's no build, no nothing to it, no story. You know, why don't just have the Battle Royal on WrestleMania like it should have been? But then these guys said, hey, well, we got a little something in our pockets. And this match only went 8.5 minutes, but it was a damn entertaining 8.5 minutes. Stuff that Ricochet did, shooting star press off the ropes. Braun doing his usual destruction of the train around the ring before getting completely trucked by Angelo Dawkins. That was a beautiful moment. And it was so entertaining. And Gable, the rolling German on Braun Strowman, another thing of beauty. Again, I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it for months. Put that U.S. title on Chad Gable. Don in the chat says, who does Theory get next? Chad Gable, and have Gable win. Period. Steven in the chat, night one better than night two. Yep. Bell, Snoop Dogg with the audible of the century. Actually, the audible of the century goes to Jessica Carr, the referee, for instructing Snoop on what to do. But Snoop also, props to Snoop for executing what turned into be an impromptu situation. Braun doing the splash off the top rope. Yeah, kind of similar to Bronson Reed's Tsunami. That was pretty cool to see. And hey, Braun doing flippy shit? Huh? I think it was kind of a probably tongue-in-cheek thing that Braun did that just because of that. But Steven also saying kudos to Gable lifting Braun. That was insane. Chad Gable deserves the U.S. title. Street Profits get the win. I'd pick the Viking Raiders. But Street Profits get the win there. Probably to get a little pop from the crowd. Obviously, the Street Profits, a great team. And, maybe if they split the belts, they'll probably be champions not too far down the future either. They did an up, down, WWE 2K simulation for the upcoming Seth Rollins Logan Paul match. Good to see Tyler Breeze on WWE television. Liv Morgan was there along with Butch and Rich Holland as well. That was kind of fun to see those guys especially since unfortunately Xavier Woods not involved in WrestleMania this year. It's hard when you're by yourself talking for an hour straight. Your voice just starts going to hell eventually. But next up, Seth freaking Rollins, Logan Paul. I thought it was pretty cool to have the conductor, but why they didn't need to pipe in from the music. Just let the crowd sing along with the conductor, man. That was my only thing. And Rollins coming out with an obnoxious coat. That coat was obnoxious. Then he takes off. It looks like he's wearing a pink Jeff Jarrett top. I don't know if that was a tribute to Jeff Jarrett or what that was exactly. Logan Paul coming down on a zip line, a la Shawn Michaels. I thought that was kind of cool. The Prime Bottle. Who knew that we would have mascots at WrestleMania? The Prime Bottle, which later we found out was KSI, a YouTuber who is a big WWE fan and a boxer as well. And then we found out today that the Cinnamon Toast Crunch person in the mascot there was Sol Ruca from NXT. I thought that was kind of funny as well that Sol Ruca was the Cinnamon Toast Crunch character there. Seth Rollins, Logan Paul. Again, Logan Paul belongs in WWE. If you don't like that statement, too damn bad, because just watch him against Roman Reigns, watch him against Seth Rollins. Any match he's done in WWE, he's done a great damn job, and this was no exception. They went over 15 minutes. I loved the spot where Rollins pulled KSI onto the table as Logan does the splash. I thought that was one of the greatest spots of WrestleMania was him pulling KSI onto the table. I thought that was funny as hell. But Rollins ending it with a stomp, and that was a great match. Again, Logan Paul doing a hell of a job. Seth Rollins was, I think, the right guy to go over in that case, because I think maybe he's the one to knock off Roman. I don't know. But going back to the chat, Seth's gear, tonight's match sponsored by Pepto-Bismol. Yeah, those pink straps looked very interesting. MK in the chat, I know people are like how awesome Charlotte and Rhea was. And they should have main evented, but the build and bigger story dictated that Sammy KO closed out the show. I completely agree. Those women, though, were wrestling with a chip on their shoulder that maybe we should have main evented the show, and that actually made that a better match, even though it should not have main evented the show. Now, did creative purposely sabotage those builds? Like Matt said a couple weeks ago, it makes complete sense that they may have sabotaged those builds. Steven saying wouldn't mind a Seth Logan rematch. I wouldn't either after that. That was good. Bell in the chat. My God, I thought the Prime Bottle was Jake Paul. I did too. I thought it was Jake Paul as well. and then laughed when it was KSI. Seth Rollins looking like he walked out of some sex shop on Sunset Boulevard. I love that comment, Bell. That is tremendous. Tremendous. Next up, the 6-woman tag. Becky Lynch, Lita, Trish Stratus, Damage Control. This was a great match. Probably the best Damage Control has looked. Though this may be the end of Damage Control based on Bayley's tweet. Bayley has also commented publicly in the past that she would not mind ending the story of Damage Control at WrestleMania. They really have not caught on much momentum. At least Bayley hasn't. Though obviously Io and Dakota were tag champs. But Bayley, I think her momentum is kind of stunted from being the leader of this group, where I thought it would elevate her to a title, and it hasn't. So I don't know. That could be the end of them. But I thought Damage Control looked great here. Becky, Lita, and Trish look great here. No heel turn from Trish yet, but that's probably coming. But I thought this was a great 6-woman tag. Very well done from all the ladies there. Bad Bunny on commentary, as reported by Fightful, ahead of the Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio match. And oh my God, the Dominic Mysterio entrance was great. It was fucking amazing. I loved it. The prison video, the police escort, him in cuffs. We all know Dom didn't spend any hard time. He was in a correctional facility for 5 hours, but playing up on how he spent hard time in prison with this WrestleMania entrance was perfect. I thought this was one of the best entrances of the weekend. And then you follow that with Ray coming out with Snoop in a lowrider, a beautifully colored lowrider. I love that orange of that lowrider. Coming out to Nothing But a G thing with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. Then Eddie Guerrero's music kicks in, which pops the crowd. And then we go into Ray's theme. Both of those entrances were great. Then we go to the match itself. And I thought the match was really well done. It was fun. There was some chicanery. I was worried it was Damian Priest in the Cinnamon Toast Crunch thing. But it was, I'm chuckling that it was Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca, again, that's a star right there. If you don't know who Sol Ruca is yet, NXT, she's a star. And big things for her coming up. Trust me on that. Judgment Day got involved, obviously. Thank God it wasn't Damian in the mascot, though. I thought that would have been hokey as hell. I like that just Judgment Day came out. Damian handed as Judgment Day got kind of neutralized by the new LWO. Damian had handed Dominic a chain, and lo and behold, Bad Bunny comes up and grabs the chain from Dominic. And that caused the distraction enough for the 619 and the splash off the top for Ray getting the win over his son. The moment of the match, I thought, was when Ray spanked Dominic with the belt. Hilarious. That was hilarious. Angie and Aaliyah get in the ring and celebrate with Ray after the match. I thought this was a great build into a great match. Very well done for the Mysterios. Have to be very proud of the work that they put in there. Back to the chat. Stephen Chambers saying Bayley better going solo. Like I said, at this point, I kind of agree. Looks like Ray and Bad Bunny versus Dominic and Damian Priest at Backlash. Of course, Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash taking place in Puerto Rico. Bad Bunny is the host. I fully expect this to be the match, and fully expect an interaction between Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, who were friends. They were tag partners at WrestleMania. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. I am all for when Bad Bunny gets involved in a match because of the work he's done. Love the Ray entrance, but the Dom entrance, I wasn't a fan, says MK. I disagree. I was an absolute fan. And Bell agrees that the Mysterios entrances were fire. My eyes begin getting watery when Viva la Raza hit. Yes, that was Beautiful. Bell in the chat also, I would say Dom and Damian. It's okay. Finn versus Ray. Bad Bunny and Santos, because Damian and Zelina can't be left out of Puerto Rico. Can't be left out. Okay, man. We'll have to see how that goes. But very cool to see Bad Bunny back in the fold, because he's definitely been missed, but he's obviously a busy guy that makes a lot of money. Next up was I would say the show stealer of WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. They went about 25 minutes, stole the damn show. Unfortunately, the match of the night was still the main event, in my opinion, but this was very, very close. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, they told a tremendous story, and that was something that was kind of lacking from the Bianca Belair and Asuka match. The story within the match, and these two ladies just told a tremendous story, and it was beautifully done. I thought that and when you see Charlotte smiling after Rhea's posing with the belt, she knew they both killed it. And there's even a photo of her pointing to Rhea, giving her respect, because they knew they just lit up the match that wasn't supposed to. Some people thought maybe should have closed the show, but as we've said before, the story did not dictate this to close the show. But going on second to last, well, we find out to be third to last, was it was a tremendous match, and very well done by the ladies. Then Miz and Snoop Dogg come back out, and Miz says that it would be better if Miz had a match, and Miz claimed he put out an open challenge on social media, which he didn't. And then lo and behold, a big surprise. Pat McAfee, a big favorite of mine. I watch his show every day while I'm working here, and it was good to see Pat back. Definitely surprised us all, and he even gave us some insight on the Pat McAfee show today. He was kind of hiding out in a bus. Yeah, he had posted an Instagram story earlier in the day of him chilling on the couch with his dog, but yet was very silent about WrestleMania on Twitter. Probably because he wasn't. I don't know if he was able to watch what was going on, because he said on the Pat McAfee show that only 3 people knew that he was going to be involved, but they didn't know if it was going to be night 1 or night 2. They had to wait for the call. Obviously, the Cena theory got kind of cut short. Charlotte and Rhea went a little long, but they still had plenty of time before the tag team main event, so they went ahead with the McAfee and Miz impromptu match. Good to see George Kittle get involved. George Kittle from the San Francisco 49ers, tight end for them. Very huge WWE fan. I thought he did great in his role with Pat McAfee against the Miz. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was a very fun little segment. A needed segment. I think it was a needed come down from the Rhea and Charlotte match, and not to just immediately transition into the Usos with KO and Sami Zayn. I thought this was a great kind of way to kind of cool it down a little bit before we heated it back up with the main event, which I don't know about you guys. I mean, you could tell me in the chat, but was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens against the Usos, was it the greatest tag match in WWE history? It's up there. I don't know if I could say the. So it's so easy to say that after the fact because you just saw it. But you obviously had New Day and Usos, and you've got Street Profits matches. You've had past matches in history. I mean, this is going to be up there for best tag match of all time, but it's hard to say definitively at this point. But when it's all said and done, it's going to be in the conversation. And the way it ended was great. Sami Zayn hitting 3 haluva kicks on Jay to end it. It was just like a big FU to the bloodline. We're taking your titles, and we thought it was going to be the beginning of the downfall of the bloodline. About that. But Beautiful main event in night one. Again, night one was just tremendous. I would probably give it a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. Night one was just crazy good. Crazy good. Back to the chat before we go to night two. WWE getting paid $1.8 million to stage a PLE in Puerto Rico. And I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Money in the Bank across the pond. Let's go. Steven Chambers, Rhea versus Charlotte rematch at Backlash. Yes, please. I will not hate that at all. Bell in the chat. A lot of people like to give Charlotte a hard time, but one thing you can't take away from her is when she comes to wrestle, she can wrestle like nobody's business. Her and Rhea both killed it. Exactly. You can't say that she's ridden off her father's coattails. She has carved her own path in professional wrestling for sure. MK, Charlotte losing just means the world title win number 15 is around the corner, that much closer to the WWE record of her father. Notice I said WWE record because it's not the pro wrestling record. Don't disagree with that there. Steven Chambers, first time since WrestleMania 1, tag matches main evented. That is correct. Main event was Mr. T and Hogan against Orndorff and Piper? I forget. But this is the first time it's for the titles, though. But yeah, the first time since WrestleMania 1. Yeah, and of course, MK, you can't, Edge and Christian, Dudley's, Hardys, those are going to be tag matches, TLC especially. That's going to be up there in history. Hart Foundation, British Bulldogs, definitely. It's hard to say Saturdays was the greatest tag match of all time. You got to let it simmer for a little bit and then compare and contrast down the road without exactly just saying, hey, this is the greatest tag team match of all time. Well, we go from night one to night two. Now, night two was not bad per se. Definitely lower than night one. And obviously the end of the night was not good. But that match was completely awesome between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. We'll get to that here later, but Snoop and Miz welcome us to WrestleMania to start out with. We kick off Omos and Brock Lesnar. Oddly enough, not bad. It only went 5 minutes. I thought it was better than Theory and Cena, to be honest with you. And of course, the spectacle almost working I mean, you almost could have predicted the outcome of the entire match. Omos working Brock until Brock comes back, hits some amazing looking German suplexes on a 7'3" guy, and then finally gets him up for the F5 to get the win. I thought it was a great way to kick off the night. Short match, perfect way. And then Brock starts off the night, 5-minute match, gets off, get off in his private jet. And he's home before the show's even over. The women's tag showcase, not as exciting as the men's, unfortunately. And a lot of people upset that basically Rousey had nothing to do in the match and then just came in and won it. A lot of people were a little pissed off about that. Well, for one, Rousey's still hurt. Not completely cleared, which says to me why you include them in the match. They're also the only team that didn't have to qualify to get in the match. A lot of people just kind of pissed off at that whole thing. But hey, what can you say? Then we got the Bobby Lashley appearing on stage with his trophy. Yeah, no Bobby Lashley, no LA Knight. Very surprising. They did another up, down thing with Woods. Tegan Knox was there as well. She's been involved with up, down before, along with Greggy, who was also on the kickoff show. Did a great job on the kickoff show. You don't know, at Game Over. Greggy used to work for IGN. Very prominent in the gaming industry. I think he's been doing a great job with his Peacock show on WWE. So I'm very happy for him. Oh, by far, the match of the night was that triple threat for the Intercontinental title. I knew it was going to steal the show, but my God, this was just another banger. As Sheamus says, this was absolutely another banger. Absolutely loved it. I did not like the fact that Sheamus didn't win and Gunther retained, but that didn't take away from the fact that this was just Tremendous match. Roman and Cody a close second, but this was by far match of night 2. I just loved it, and they beat the ever living crap out of each other. There was one point where Sheamus hit Drew with 28 beats of the Balor. then they're taking turns on Gunther with a beat and then a chop, and it was it was pure amazement for the IC title, and you knew it was going to steal the show, and it completely did that, and even more. Bell in the chat, Gunther's breaking a record himself. Yeah, he's definitely, him winning at WrestleMania definitely tells you he's breaking Honky Tonk's Intercontinental title record. MK saying, hey, did better than he thought. Yeah, Omos and Lesnar better than he thought. Don, Big E needed so many Gatorade and primes from watching this match. Yeah, lots of big men slapping meat in that triple threat match. Holy crap. That was an all-timer there at WrestleMania. And I think eventually Sheamus will get it. He'll get that Intercontinental title before he retires. And maybe the right call was to keep it on Gunther and have him break the record. Maybe that's the right call. You know, I still would have loved to see Sheamus win it at WrestleMania, but alas, because I mean, Sheamus has been the most consistent performer for 2-3 years now in WWE. Sheamus took to Twitter after the match. Him and McIntyre sitting on some steel steps, just passed out, and just says one word: pints. So maybe that means Drew and Sheamus are friends again. Let's hope so. Bianca Belair and Asuka. Good match, but definitely not the level of Rhea and Charlotte. Just did not seem to have that in-match story that that Charlotte and Rhea built to. Was a good match. I predicted Asuka, but as night 2 was kind of happening, I kind of had a feeling Bianca was going to retain, and that is what happens. Bianca now has held that belt over a year. The Raw Women's Championship. She's held that for over a year. It's just the fact that they have not made, they had started to make Asuka look like the killer Kata that she was before, and then they really kind of took the gas off of it, and there was really a crap build going into the match, and then the match didn't really have much of a story within the match itself. So yeah, it just didn't have that gear. Next, Miz and Snoop Dogg announced the attendance, and Snoop Dogg says, well, you should have another match. And it was Shane O'Mac's music that hit. And unfortunately, Shane O'Mac doing a drop down leapfrog. And as he did the leapfrog, tore his quad. Ouch. Then props to Jessica Carr and Snoop Dogg for improving, along with the Miz for taking it. And they turned an unfortunate incident into a decent moment, at least. So that was well done on their parts there. Next up was the Hell in a Cell match. Edge coming out to South of Heaven by Slayer was fucking sweet. Loved it. Which is also kind of funny because South of Heaven is one of Damian Priest's one of his moves. And then of course the Demon, we get to see a Demon entrance again. Obviously the story here was Demon Balor took a brutal ladder shot off his head, which led to having the Edge improvise and pull out some more weapons while they checked on him, maybe closed up that that gash was nasty. If you saw it on Finn's Twitter, it was nasty. So I wonder if they changed the winner due to this. They definitely shortened the match due to this. But I'm wondering if they changed the winner or if Edge was supposed to win all along. I disagree with the booking here. I think the Demon is dead apparently because the Demon can't win the last few matches that Finn's brought him out for. So, I just the Demon was invincible to start, but I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get the booking with the Demon, much like the Fiend. The Fiend kind of had that same kind of downfall, especially when he lost to Goldberg and Saudi. So But it was a great physical Hell in a Cell match. I'm glad the cage is gray again instead of red. You can actually see inside and everything like that. And I thought it was a tremendous match. Maybe this leads to Edge maybe starting to challenge Roman Reigns and other guys. Randy Orton, he's supposedly maybe Randy Orton's coming back tonight. We don't know. Then we got the main event, Cody Rhodes. Of course, we mentioned his daughter Liberty and Brandy at ringside, and Brody Jr. -1. Very touching there. Of course, Roman making his usual entrance. And these guys had a hell of a match. This was a tremendous match. Went on for about 35 minutes. Then the same old shit happened. And we've said this already in the show. Same old shit happened. Not much else we can say about it. Same old shit. Roman can't win on his own. It was pretty cool to see Zayn hit a Helluva kick on Roman. That was a cool moment and everything. But, of course, Sola coming out and hitting the spike. And that was it. And Roman retains, and not a lot of people are happy. So, that's the unfortunate thing. It's not what we wanted, but maybe eventually we'll get a reason for it, or something will make sense. Right now, it makes sense to nobody. But I don't know. It was a tremendous match, second best match of the night behind the triple threat. But gotta say it was disappointing. We're gonna quickly go to what to expect on Monday Night Raw. With coming up here, we're gonna try to get you out of here a little early so you can get to Raw. Once again, I thank everybody for tuning in live tonight. Thank everybody for joining me in the chat. And it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys coming in. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, is go to the Bleav in Pro Wrestling YouTube page and subscribe to us, and make sure to give us a little thumbs up for these videos, and give us hit the bell so you know when you're notified for when we go live on Bleav in Pro Wrestling, and that is BLEAV. Make sure to subscribe to us, because there's gonna be some great interviews coming up on the Bleav channel with Rick Ucchino. Rick Ucchino was at WrestleMania, and there's already interviews with Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Rhea Ripley, and Natty Out Now. And coming up on Tuesday, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. So there's going to be some more interviews coming your way on the Bleav in Pro Wrestling YouTube channel. So make sure to tune in to that. So we're going to end with Fightful Select's Raw After Mania plans. Triple H promo. We're going to have a promo from Roman and Solo and Paul Heyman. There was supposed to be a top contender tournament with Liv Morgan, Dakota Kai, and Piper Niven, but they've told that may have been cut. Austin Theory against Rey Mysterio. Street Profits against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the tag titles. There's going to be a segment with Seth Rollins. Bobby Lashley's taking on Mustafa Ali. There's also supposed to be a top contender tourney between Candice LeRae, Raquel Rodriguez, and Io Sky. They're told that could be cut. So we'll have to see what happens there. Bad Bunny is set for the show tonight. And outside of that, let's hope there's some more surprises that aren't listed on Fightful Select. The main event is set to be Cody and a mystery partner against Roman and Solo. Maybe that's Randy Orton. With that, I want to thank you once again for tuning in to Lost in the Midcard. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for coming on the show with us. Hopefully, we'll be back next week, and we'll see you again at our normal time. We'll be back next week at our normal time, 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Enjoy the Raw After Mania. And once again, as always, Lost in the Midcard is brought to you by Bet Online.